Hi, everyone. Today we have Tosif. Tosif is one of the coaches on our practiceinterviews.com platform, and we are specifically here today to focus on Amazon's 14 principles. You are going to get so many fantastic insights from Tosif that you are not going to hear in other places. Tosif is a former program and product manager at Amazon, and really excited to have you here, Tosif, and just going to have you kick off and introduce yourself really quickly.
My experience is I was there as a supply chain product manager. And I started as a program manager first, and then I moved into product management. So working with the technology teams or engineering teams, building the platforms for third party delivery providers, Amazon Last Mile. So I was in Amazon Last Mile. And also I work for fulfillment centers in planning, capacity planning, and also program management, product management experience, working with engineering and business, supply chain business team. So it's a very good experience in terms of the complexity of supply chain Amazon has and how they solve their supply chain problems through enabling technologies. Specifically, Amazon is known for building in-house technologies. So that's a key as compared to going out and buying something. Um, yes.
Okay, cool. So let's get into those like fun topics that, well, they're not so fun for everybody, right? They're a little bit tricky, a little bit challenging. And so we really want to focus on, and let's start with the 14 principles. I think there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding. And so help us understand, how are these 14 principles showing up, especially in the interview? Let's start to get some tips, some tricks, some advice, and let's start with those 14 principles, please.
Sure. So, Jeff, what happens is that those 14 principles, not all of those 14 are relevant for each job. So, first of all, we need to be very clear. We are not, Amazon is not looking for a candidate who is good in all the 14. So let's not prepare for all 14. If you're applying for a product manager job at a starting level, there are certain uh, principles which are important at that level. If you're going at a senior or principal level, there are certain more principles relevant for that program management. Some different principles are. So out of those 14, first of all, not all are relevant. It depends upon the level you are going, a junior level, middle level, a senior level, then those principles are different. For example, at the early level, you have bias for action, deliver results, like those are the principles very important at those level. And if you go up and up, definitely hiring and building teams and all those things comes with the seniority. You have as a leadership more, they all are leadership principles, but the level where you join, it's a junior level or it's as a middle level or at a director level or principal level, some of the principles which are more relevant for that role, it's different. So that's a very important. The second thing I would share is that, um, for example, let's take a principle which I like all candidates to practice at any level, which is earn trust. Earn trust is a Amazon leadership principle, which I see is everybody should be good in that. So whether you are earning trust of your team members, you are earning trust of your manager, of your colleagues, other departments, functional departments. So it's all your customers or your delivery partners, contractors. So this is something you need to be good at in earning trust, because that's how the team is built. That's a foundation. Is if you take, that the triangle of trust, the earned trust is in the bottom. That I would say that everybody should prepare for that. How what story or experience I should share which shows that I'm able to earn trust, or people are able to to trust me. Like it's both direction, bi-directional, and what is my approach to earn trust of my manager and team members. That's one thing. And then the second thing is that, um, how people earn trust from me, like what I show, you know, when they give me some work, I do that, like whatever that thing is important in the doing part, which resembles that, hey, uh, he or she is dependable. Okay, we can trust, you know, whether it's delivering on time or whatever. So I definitely stress on this leadership principle in every interview preparation with my clients.
Okay. So let me just ask this question because I guess I probably missed this. Um, with recruiters, let's say I'm Amazon candidate and I'm talking to my recruiter, are they actually going to identify and say, hey, you should really be focusing on these leadership principles more than others? Is that something that should be happening in earlier conversations?
It happens all the time. When I was in Amazon, you know, so the hiring manager, his responsibility is to define which leadership principles are important for or relevant for this job responsibility, you know. So it all starts from that there. And then once the hiring manager says, hey, out of these 14, I'm looking for these 5 or 6. um, so that's the first step which hiring manager has to do. The second step happens is that when there is a panel interview, like 4 or 5 or 6 interviewers are taking interview back to back, each of them are assigned certain leadership principles, you know. So each of them are responsible for 2 or 3 leadership principles out of those 6. So then it shows that, you know, I am testing, for example, you are a candidate. I'm testing you on deliver results and earn trust and bias for action. Somebody else is coming and testing you on some other leadership principles. So when the whole panel interview is done and we all sit together, then we have a holistic view about you from all those 6 leadership principles. Um, and they say, hey, you know, I like his approach on deliver results, but his bias for action is low, and his untouched story is not that good. You know, so let's put it all together and see whether we can take a decision on hiring or not.
So I have been like coaching some of my Amazon clients in a way that I think is helpful, but I want to just collaborate. You and I have actually never spoken about this, which is the principles are pretty close to each other, right? If you were to just kind of throw them and clump them all together, there's a lot of duality. There's a lot of crossover between the principles. So is that a recommendation that you would have to people interviewing at Amazon? It's like to look at one, but maybe not to compartmentalize and think about how you can be talking about 2 or 3 in your examples. Is that a suggestion or recommendation that you give?
That's what another thing I make sure I work with my client on that is, you know, you have a one experience or a story, you know, it's that you delivered a project or something. That project, if you look from end to end, it will definitely connect to many leadership principles, you know.
Right.
I have definitely earned trust in the starting, and then I I I have delivered results in the end. You know, in between, I had the bias for action, and all the other principles are coming in. So what I say that, you know, you have this whole story end to end. Now, based on the question where it is focused, you know, tell me about a situation when you have a conflict in the team, and you know what happened. And you need to understand that the interviewer is not going to say that, hey, I'm going to ask a question about untrust now, like that never happens, you know. So you need to understand that the question is focused more around conflict and untrust leadership principle. So I'm going to talk only about my first part of the project, you know, or maybe somewhere in between when that conflict happens, you know, and the trust was good, then it got broken because of something's happened. The new team member came, or the agenda was not clear in the meeting, or something happened, and then the trust got broken, you know. And then you realize that, and then you build the trust again. So you just focus on that aspect of the project. Don't start from the start and go to the end and this happened and that happened. That's like too elongated. Definitely end your story, saying that, this is what happened. If you want, I can definitely share about the outcome of the overall project, but the outcome of that particular conflict was the team is back to normal and we are back in the timeline, and all those things happened. It was resolved because of my this initiatives and all those things. So just go with the outcome of that segment. Don't go with the outcome of the overall project, because it just distracts everybody, you know
Okay. Okay. And everybody who's watching this video, it's really important to understand there's a lot of crossover here to any company. Answer the question that's being asked of you. And what that means is, what is that one section? What is that one item or two items they're trying to identify? All right. So now I'm kind of curious. You got the wheels turning a little bit. And so now what I'm curious about is, uh, as candidates are going into these interviews, are they aware of the principles that are going to be focused on in each interview, or is that something that they're not?
I would say generally they are not aware of, but if you definitely go through Google search, and you will definitely get some relevant content, of course. But in general, when you read a job description, you don't get that thing. So what I do is that, I ask the client, okay, show me the job description, and then I tell them how to find those leadership principles in the job description, because those things are there, but it's not explicit. you know it's not bullet point on this leadership principles are required. It's not like that, but they are already embedded in the job description. So what I do is that I go through that and say, hey, see this bullet point, they are more focusing on conflict and collaboration. So we will definitely cover this part in our preparation. And so once I go through that, taking the job description and definitely the title and the level where it belongs. So once I go through that, and then I map it to the relevant Amazon principles, leadership principle out of the 14, then I say, okay, out of 14 for this job description, for this title and that level, these 5 or 6 are important. So that's the first step, you know uh, before we jump into mock interview. But I don't want to waste anybody's time here. So once we get that, then the second step I do is I prioritize them. At this level, you are a level 5 or level 4 a software engineer. Let's focus more around bias for action and delivery results, like the top two. What is my top two at this job? If a principal level, my top two may be one of the strategic one, and an untrust one. So I'm going to go through that and say, these are your top two. And once we're done with that, then we start the story content, quality, structure, relevancy of the story, and how it mapped to that leadership principle, and then practicing the eloquency and the confidence in delivering that story, with full of emotional intelligence and drama, and not like it just a blah blah blah. So it's a lot of things that happens there in the mock interview. But it has a sanity to it, I would say, Jeff. It's not about, sometimes candidates feel when they come to these mock interviews, based on their experience with other interview coaches, they feel that, oh, what is that? Somebody's going to ask me a question, I'm going to tell the answer, and somebody's saying this is not good or good. It's not that. There's a whole process behind preparing someone for this, and I just explained a little bit of that. Yes, hope it helps.
Okay. And I love this. And now you're making me think that you should do a video on how to go through the job description, because everyone, this is another skill set that's really, really critical, is taking the time to really dig into the job description. The meat or veggies of the sandwich, whatever you go after, it's in the job description. 60 to 70% of what you're going to be asked, it's in there at almost any company.
The first 3 bullet points are very important. If you want to go through the 80-20 rule, if the job description has 10 or 15 bullet points, then the first three is 80%. The remaining is 20%. So
Oh, okay. Well, then that's probably, I gotta cut this clip out and put that right in the beginning because people need to hear that. That's okay. That's amazing. I did not realize that. Okay. So now I have a funny one. Um, so sometimes when I talk to Amazon clients, I can hear them ingesting the specific principles into the words that they use. Meaning, oh, and here I dove deep, or here I had a bias for action. What's your thought on that? Is that weird? Is it like clearly so intentional? Do you occasionally like it? What would be your coaching to people on starting to implement the specific words that are listed in the principles?
yeah, so one thing when you and I started working together, I started reading about the Google interviews, and one of the founder executive of Google, he said, I don't like the word passion in the interviews because if you have a passion, don't say it few times, because it dilutes the answer. Similar to that, in Amazon interviews also. Don't use those words. So those are the words which are the categories, but don't use it or overuse it just to impress it. The more impressive part is your experience. Talk about that in the language you are comfortable, because the interviewer is definitely going to extract whether he or she is a right fit for this job or not. The words don't impress. Definitely if you overuse it, it's going to do a negative work on you.
Okay. Okay. All right. I just want to know in regards to the principles, if there's anything we haven't talked about. Is there anything you haven't mentioned that you just think, hey, it's really, really important for you to know this about the principles? I mean, we've hit on so many good things from the job description to narrowing it down to a few. So many good tidbits here, but anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you
Yeah.
think is important?
One thing, Jeff, is definitely important here is, either you are an individual contributor or a people manager. So under each of those leadership principles, there are two subcategories. Each leadership principle has those two subcategories, whether it's earned trust or bias for action, or any leadership principle, customer obsession. And there is a two aspect of that. One is as an individual contributor, how I can demonstrate my customer obsession. As a people manager, how I can demonstrate customer obsession, and different answers. So make sure either you are applying for a people manager job, you are a team lead, at any level, you are a team lead, or you are individual contributor, you just work and manage, and you don't have a team, so you don't have direct reports. So each leadership principle has those two. So when I prepare clients on that, I make sure that I focus on the category they are applying for. So that is also very, very important. I would say it will help the clients.
Tosi, absolutely amazing. I mean, I really thought I knew everything about Amazon. I've watched a lot of videos, I've watched a lot of content, but you really broke it down. Everyone, I hope you're seeing the value here because Tosif has really looked at Amazon from a little bit different way and getting into that job description. We're going to hold Tosif to that, to have him actually screen share and walk us through the job description. So remember that 80-20. Remember, it's not all 14, it's maybe 5 or 6. They're going to be different based on level. They're going to be different based on path, IC, or leadership, direct people management. Tosif, thank you so much for taking the time. We're definitely going to get you back on the platform and have you do multiple videos with us.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care.